I'm John Wilson. Welcome to Owned and Operated. Twice a week, we talk about home service businesses, and if you're a home service entrepreneur, then this is going to be the show for you. We talk about our own business in residential plumbing, HVAC, and electric, and we also talk about business models that we just find interesting. Let's get into it.
This episode is sponsored by Home Service Engine. So this is a company that I would highly recommend if you are thinking about getting onto Service Titan, or if you're like me and you have to rebuild your Service Titan every few months because you set it up incorrectly. So this is my go-to team for any Service Titan needs, and I really wish I had them from the start. Give them a call today and start utilizing Service Titan to its fullest potential.
Welcome back
To Owned and Operated. What's going on, John?
Living it up, dude. Living it up. We're in the heart of April, which means 70 degrees during the day, 20 degrees at night, and no one has any problems.
That's weird. Yeah.
It's super weird.
So I mean, what is that looking like for the business?
Good. So what's been kind of interesting this week, past couple weeks, is we've struggled with options, and that became like a glaring problem across the board. So we started addressing that through trainings and coaching, and that's been good. But it was kind of interesting because we got busy. Like we started hitting like very, very busy. Like all the stuff we've been doing for the last months just sort of blew up in April. So we started running more calls than ever, but revenue's down. So we're just like, what the heck? So we started looking at why and found it and started working on it.
Well, that's always important. That's the first step.
The ever-continued push of improvement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of ran into the same thing as like everything from Q1 finally came to fruition, and we just have been running hard. And so the good news, which I saw you commented on Twitter today, was this is the first month that we are on track to hit goal of our $5 million goal this year. So April came around, we hit our goal that we needed to hit our $5 million number. Nice. The downside, which I will admit, is we did not hit Q1 numbers. So we do have some makeup to do. But like at the end of the year, I feel like if I come in at like 4.2 and then that's the exact number I'm off for January, February, March, in my mind, we hit goal for what we were looking for. So really excited on that. And I will have to say, huge shout out to this podcast, and that breaking 5 million is what a lot of people don't understand is I've been implementing these things. Like they've just got implemented kind of in the last 3 months. And now we're seeing the fruits of that. This is really the first month where everything's coming together, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, dude, that's sweet. That is cool. So acquisition's going well. You're like 30 days out from when you acquired. Is that right? 40 days out?
Yeah, actually. Well, almost 60. It's like 45 days out. Yeah. And that company, the plumbing side, though steady, is actually kind of lagging a little bit, but it's growing pains, right? But the HVAC side is where like everything's been rolling really, really well. Like we've gotten everything lined out. We've hired a few more people. We've really put all the steps into place, and our LSAs firing, our PPCs firing, and it's really driving meaningful leads. And then we're getting wonderful flips off that and just doing well.
Yeah.
It hasn't been crazy weather either. We've been 75.
Yeah.
I remember sitting, and I know this is a little diatribe, but like for anyone listening out there, like the craziness of this change for me is someone brought up to me, where were you last year? And I was sitting in a shared office space with my comfort advisor, and we had one person in the field, and we were talking about how do we drive any leads because we were just dead. I think we did like 40 to 80,000 last year in April. Like, and then now we're 17, 18 people deep. We're going to hit 5 million. We're on track, and parking lot's full. We're in 3,000 square feet of space. 4 GMBs up, like wild change in 1 year.
Yeah. No, you guys are pumping. You're doing all the right stuff. It was kind of interesting. I saw something on Twitter earlier today about LSAs. And LSAs got really complicated. Obviously, anyone in the trades knows that. And I think you just said it was like yours is pumping. And it reminded me of this tweet from earlier. I don't remember the guy's name. I think
Zachary, yeah.
Yeah, Zach Wilson, right? Like I think he even has my last name. And he said that LSAs have not been working for him at all. And I think LSAs, like we do talk about this a little bit, but I'm going to plug Service Scalers here because they ended up building a program to help people with it. But LSAs are like an actively managed thing. So, early 2019, 2020, 2021, when it first launched, it was like put in $1, get a lead out type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sort of worked, and you fiddled with it a little bit, but it wasn't an active thing that you managed. And I think a lot of companies got used to that. But the companies, like LSA is a game, like that you can win. So I don't know, talk to Service Scalers or something, because it's working. Obviously, it works for us, but it works for Jack too. It's still our biggest source of leads. It just takes a lot more work than it did 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's how we originally thought it was just like set it, forget it. You put $1 in, but there is definitely strategy on the back end of it. So making sure that you are playing Google's game. You're appeasing the Google gods. You sacrifice the goat, whatever you need to do to get Google happy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still by far our second biggest is GMB management. Hundreds of leads a week between the two of them, which is crazy. Because most people, like, even if you his example was he set the budget at like 80,000 a week and he got like 3 or 4 leads. And that, to me, that actually makes sense. Because if you're not playing the game, then that's exactly what will happen. So that makes total sense. You have to do the process. So we do talk about the workshop, and then Service Scalers, like I said, they built a program specifically for that. Because we got that feedback a lot at the workshop.
Yeah.
So something to note. But I'm glad it's working, dude. I'm glad you're on track for 5. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a change, and so I just try to keep looking ahead till next year, because next year, I mean, who knows? I mean, I hope it continues, but we'll see.
30.
Breaking 10.
Breaking 10. Yeah, we'll start doing workshops specifically just for like your growth.
Me.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
That's actually the secret, is I've designed all of my wants around this podcast to be just like how to help me grow, and then anyone who can follow behind can ask me all the questions.
Makes sense.
I mean, it's work though. Like it sounds silly, but I'm like, I don't know how else to just like, somebody asked me a question the other day and I said, you know what, you would get so much value from the workshop. Like, these are things that we're covering. This is the question I had. Like, this is where you need to be. So I cannot stress that enough. It really, like, we're still getting messages from the people from the last workshop saying, hey, I did this. This is not working. Like the active feedback of how to get to that 5 million. And these guys are really implementing and starting to run with it.
Yeah, no, it's freaking awesome. I love it. I think it's cool.
When is the next one? Next one's June 3rd through 6th?
June 4th through the 6th. Yep, still Ohio. Should be fun. I think people come in on the 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah. Dinners, questions, whatever.
Yeah,
like questions you need answered.
Home service, residential home service. We did have some commercial service guys that they got a lot out of it.
Are you currently dumping money into the PPC pit of despair? Well, that's how I used to feel before I started working with Service Scalers. I would waste money with 2, 3, 4 other agencies. Then I started working with Service Scalers, and they were able to drive meaningful leads in my business. And now it's one of our cheapest paid lead generation platforms. They specialize in PPC, SEO, and LSA management. So if you're looking to increase meaningful leads in any of those areas, I would give them a shout out and see what they can do for you. So my question for you is, in your restoration company. Do you actually do PPC LSA, or is there any kind of avenues that you push on other than kind of referrals from your own plumbing company?
Yeah. Yes. So I'll give some caveats and then I'll give my answer. So our remediation business is small. So like what I'm about to say is from the perspective of a small remediation business. And so I only know what has worked for us in the past, and I know what we're intending to do next. But I have not successfully done the next part yet. So we have a restoration business, and it's been good. So we launched it in 2020. The first 2 years, honestly, were really difficult. It really went like nowhere productive. Mainly a right people, right seat problem. And we started putting really good players in late 22 and early 23. And the business started to take off.
So
At first, all of the leads were from Wilson.
That's what I was going to ask. Okay.
So that was the idea. And the reason we did this originally, and I'm not saying this is the right or wrong move, but we launched it because we found out the average ticket was like $3,500, $4,000, and that we were basically, we had a restoration salesperson calling on us, and she made a joke about, it's funny that you guys don't launch your own because you have enough leads to do that. And I thought that was like, what are you talking about? And I found out that all it takes is 3 leads a week to run a, basically a $500,000 remediation business.
Mm-hmm.
And that blew my mind at, $3,500, $4,000 average ticket. If you do, 3 of those a week, then that's $500,000. Makes sense. And that's a manager and 2 techs. So we launched it.
Real quick, when you're going through these prices for people, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off midway, but just for people who don't understand like what this industry is, like we're kind of beating around the bush, but let's spell it out. What exactly are you doing in the company?
So remediation, it's important. People definitely get this wrong.
Yep.
So remediation is a project-based business, and it is it's insurance. Almost all of it is insurance. There's no recurring work. Very common misunderstanding. There's no recurring work in this business at all. Some people think that, insurance companies have to call you, or like, no, absolutely not. This is a project by project business. And what the goal is, you get active situations. So you can get water damage or storm damage or fire damage, and you go in and you remediate the property. So what that looks like for us as a plumbing company is, hey, basement flooded, a lot of water damage from this leak, mold from the water damage from this leak. And there's different sections of the industry. So if I looked at like a Serve Pro, what they would be doing is they would be doing the remediation plus the putback. And the putback is construction. It's just straight up construction. I'm going to hire some carpenters, got some drywall guys, we're going to do some paint. And so those are the 2 sections of that business. Is you have the remediation and you have the putback. You get to pick what you do in this industry. You can pick however you want to go about this. So like how I play this game very well could be different how you as the listener would play this game. So for us, we did this as a retention tool because all of the Roto-Rooters launched a remediation department of their plumbing. And we were consistently losing water damage calls to Roto-Rooter because they had the ability to do the cleanup too. So that was one of the original inspirations for launching this, is we wanted customer retention. So we opted that we were going to run this business 9 to 5, same as our plumbing company at the time. And we were going to only do the water and mold cleanup. And that is a specific strategy. Mm-hmm. The reason that we like that is the average ticket is like good, $3,500 to $4,000. You're in and out in like 3 to 4 days. And all of the gross margin is in that side of the work. So on that section of the work, you might get 60 to 70% gross margin. On the putback side of the work, it's construction. So you get like 25% or less.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And so you guys started off only doing the former.
That's still all that we.
Okay.
So we were only getting leads from plumbing, and we were only doing the water and mold cleanup, and we still only do the water mold cleanup.
Perfect. So then
most people do add the putback in, just to
Mhm.
put this out there. Most people add that in because the ticket size is so much larger.
Yeah.
So if you have if a job is $10,000, then 3,000 of it is the water cleanup and 7 is the putback. So most people chase the $10,000, but all of the profit on that job is in the first 3 days with the water cleanup.
Yeah.
That's the section that we take.
Yeah. And so it's not a high gross margin business, but it's it's not a high gross revenue business. It's a lower gross revenue business, but higher margin. So better at the end from a cash flow standpoint. Okay. So 2022 is coming through. You've started this business. You're getting those 3 leads a week from your plumbing guys. You've rolled that out to them. It's fair. Was it fairly smooth transition just internally as a additional vertical question?
Yeah, no, it was an absolute nightmare. I mean, it was a totally new trade. That was mean. It was a totally new trade. We had no idea what we were doing. It was a completely different sales process. It was like we'd never been paid by insurance before for anything.
Mm-hmm. It's a game.
Yeah, that business has 5 employees right now, and I'm pretty sure I have 180,000 in AR. It's kind of wild.
Yeah,
wild because it's insurance. So no, it took us 2.5 years before that business became good. But now the business is good, and we're really happy with it. But lead flow, for those first couple of years, all we did was focus on leads from the plumbing company. We weren't really focusing on leads from anywhere else. We started focusing on leads from other places last year. And what we have been pleasantly surprised by is a couple things. One, we do run LSA and PPC for the remediation business. Now, granted, we're not running a $10 million or $20 million remediation business. This guy's small. So if you need to really feed the beast and you need 100 leads a week, this might not be it for you. But at our lead size, we are happy with it. And the nice thing is, if you can optimize it, which we know how to do from our core business, it can be good. Because the average tickets are always insane. It's not like you spend $80 on a lead and you get a $500 ticket. You spend $80 on a lead and you get a $10,000 mold cleanup job. So we get one of those a week. We get a lead a week and we tend to close them.
And what's your cost per click or cost per lead look like on something like that? Because I know appliances can get really low. And if you're trying to bid directly for HVAC replacement or high ticket items, roof replacement, you're going to get a very high $600 cost per lead. Is mold remediation the same?
Yes. But the game with that, who cares? Yeah. Average ticket's $4,000. So who cares? It's 11%. And gross margin 70%, and I have barely any overhead. So it just doesn't matter. It's definitely it's honestly kind of a fun business because because the average ticket is so high, you just get to spend more per job to acquire it, and it's really a game of whoever's willing to spend the most. But it also opens up a bunch of other stuff. So last year we were going through the same exercise. How are companies generating leads? And what I did was I talked to all these large restoration businesses, hey, a couple 5 million, some 10s, a couple 20s, a couple 20 pluses. And I asked the same exact question because what I wanted to hear was you can do it all digital because that's one of our core competencies.
Yeah.
And what I heard was, no, you cannot do it all digital. But many of them did not go the plumber route, which to me honestly makes sense because the problem with plumbers, that was a good idea 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But now plumbers are used to remediation companies walking in and saying hey, I'll give you $300 a lead. I'll give you $400 a lead, $500 a lead.
So that's the irony is when he took me out to lunch. We had this conversation. As a listener of the pod, I always prioritize them above all else. But within 2 days of checking my mail for the business, I received 2 remediation companies sending me just mailers saying, hey, if you refer us, we'll give you X, 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 X. And so
Yeah.
they lined it out like how much we can make going with them. And so it went from like not in my view at all to now this blown up thing where I've had multiple remediation companies soliciting me. Because we're plumbers. We're a plumbing company with a small HVAC side.
No, it's real. And it is like, and the techs know it, because what most of these companies will do is they'll skip the business. Like, why deal with Jack when they can just go to the tech? So they'll meet your guys at a supply house and they'll be like, hey, you want $500 a week? $1,000 a week? Every time you find water, call me. Because why involve you? So it's real. So a lot of people are thinking it's just expensive, and highly competitive. So what a lot of companies do is they still do in person, but they just find other ways. Maybe property managers, maybe plumbing companies, but they just look for other people. But the biggest lead gen source for all of these businesses was in-person marketing, and it wasn't close.
Wow.
So that's just the nature of B2B.
So for your strategy though, moving forward, do you plan to continue that in-person? Because I know you guys are opening up like a large in-person marketing side to your business, just in general across the board. Are you guys going to focus on that, or are you guys going to double down on some kind of marketing via digital platforms?
Both. Like, we're going to run a playbook for a direct to consumer, and we're going to run a playbook for business to business. I suspect the real scale is going to happen business to business. And we started that maybe 30, 40 days ago.
That's neat. So for a small guy, you have a large amount of resources that can start this up. I mean, obviously the benefit of being small in this instance is it's extremely personable, right? You are the owner going and talking with someone. You can work out any kind of details and or situations, et cetera, with business owners. But do you have any other recommendations for the smaller guy going out there to try and gain an edge in this industry?
I mean, I really think we should have hired a field marketer earlier, like years ago. That would have, like, lead flow is for any business is the limiting factor.
Yeah.
And it's no different for us in remediation. We can close them, we can do them. We need more leads.
So, I mean, I'd give myself a 50% on that. So, I mean, like, I think I undervalued the in-person marketing aspect that you're referring to now. But that makes sense because, I mean, that's what the recommendation is for B2B anyway. It's to hound LinkedIn. It's to go and try to meet as many people as you can who are going to be able to send you leads. Interesting.
Yeah, I think don't overthink it. Like, digital works and we get leads from it, but like the way we're looking at scale is not digital because it is mainly referral. Like, someone else has water damage, who's going to call you? Like, if I had water damage, I mean, I guess I would call my own restoration company, but like, my first call would be my insurance guy.
Yeah.
Like, if I had, maybe a different example is if I had huge hail and my roof was messed up, I would not call a roofer. Like, that would be like my second or third call. Be a roofer. My first would be, what's my coverage?
Yeah, I think the general thought, right, is the first call is to the plumber to stop what's ever causing that damage, and then that's where the plumber.
That's when we call the insurance. Yeah,
pushes them over into that insurance bin.
Yeah, but it's a home service. It's just that, like, it's a referral business coming from other businesses. It's like home inspection, right? Like, the only way you grow a home inspection business is you run a marketing program to realtors and they refer you. That's it. Like, if you run PPC on that, I don't know how far you're going to get.
Yeah, because we are just in the process of buying a house, and our realtor referred us to the broker, the inspection person, the radon person, et cetera, and we use most of them. I mean, there's a few that we went out on our own, and I used Google to find them, but generally speaking, it was a referral service, so that makes sense. I still wouldn't sleep on social media marketing because, it's mold is one of those things that is just such a visual product or such a visual issue.
Totally. Totally. I think that's, you can totally do it with mold. Mold would be an interesting one. Mold, honestly, is what kills for our digital. Like we do good with mold. We don't do good with the other things. Now, the downside of mold is it's almost always a cash job, good or bad, which means that like insurance doesn't cover mold, because if there's mold, that means you didn't solve another problem. Like if there's mold somewhere, you let the roof leak for too long. You didn't clean up water. You didn't fix something. So the mold is a byproduct of a different issue. So when insurance sees mold, they say no. So that's good and bad. The good is that it's not insurance and it's high margin, and you get COD paid, which is sweet.
And
the
people
bad
are reaching out to you directly.
Yeah, it's just mold cleanup is really expensive. Yep.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's interesting. I feel like I learned something. I hope everyone else did today too. I mean, that's really interesting. Especially, I mean, we don't do much B2B. We've thought about it. We've thought about doing plumbing, commercial plumbing, but we've decided against it. And so it's just a very interesting change to the business. But I like it.
Don't sleep on in person.
Don't sleep on in person if you take anything away from this. I think that's true though for residential too. Residential B2C.
100% is. Yeah. Like I think it's one of the dumbest things I read on Twitter every day. Is, hey, so I'm coming from digital marketing. I think I'll kill it in a home service. And it's like, bro, like everyone is a digital marketer home service. Like where have you been for the last decade? Like this is D2C marketing. Like I don't know what you're looking for here. You have no alpha. Because it's easy. It's easy to find a provider. It's easy to, that's just not the advantage. So the companies
10 years ago, but not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. Like, it just doesn't. It's not like you have nothing.
Jack, have ran a failed D2C winery, so I know a thing or two about digital marketing.
Get people on.
I know a thing or two, but it didn't fail because of leads or sales. It's failed because product exploded in people's houses. So
that's not great.
That's not great.
But in person takes real energy and has a moat.
Yeah, no, I think so, and I think that's we're going to see the pendulum swing back here shortly, if it isn't already moving in that direction.
I think the leaders are.
Yeah, I think so too.
And everyone else will follow, and then we'll all go back to digital. It's going to swing back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
We have a group of competitors that all listen to the show, and
stop listening.
What we tend to see is like we do something, and then 6 months later, like we see the exact same thing, which I think is kind of interesting. It's kind of fun. But like, I think in general, that's how it always works is like someone, and it's the same with me. Like I see someone doing this thing, so I do it.
Yep.
And like, and then I talk to thousands of people a week on the internet and they see me do it and then they do it. And,
M-list celebrities.
Yeah. M-list. Yeah. But I think that's just the nature of it. Like marketing always changes. So like in person might be good for the next 12 months. And then after that, like, who knows? Maybe Angie's List will suddenly be like incredible.
Yeah, maybe. I'll wait for that day.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. This was a good one, and thanks for submitting the question. If you want your question answered, email info@ownedandoperated.com, or even better, sign up for the newsletter and then respond to it.
Boom.
That would be great. It goes to the same spot, or DM Jack or I on Twitter. What I think would be really fun is some guest appearances from some of the folks coming on Facebook group. So we have really engaged, really cool people that are introducing themselves. So if you're listening and you introduced yourself, gird your loins because we want to bring you on the pod. Should be a lot of fun.
Question: are we allowed to talk about? I actually just completely forgot that thought because you were going for it.
But move this part from the show.
Please don't. Just leave it in there. Okay. Yeah. Find us on Twitter, the HVAC Jack, and at the Wilson Companies.
Yeah, sick. Check out ownedandoperated.com. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in to Owned and Operated, the podcast for home service entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the like button and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to reach out. You can find me on Twitter at @WilsonCompanies. I'll see you next time.